Have you ever imagined waking up in a world where you're a giant, or one where you're so small you could fit in someone's hand? What if you met talking horses that were smarter than most people you know? Well, one man, Lemuel Gulliver, didn't have to imagine. He lived it. And today, we're diving into his unbelievable journey from Jonathan Swift's classic, Gulliver's Travels. Our story starts with Gulliver, a surgeon on a ship, who finds himself shipwrecked after a violent storm. He washes ashore on an island, exhausted, and falls into a deep sleep. When he wakes up, he can't move. He's tied to the ground with hundreds of tiny threads. He soon discovers he is a prisoner of a race of people no taller than his thumb, the Lilliputians. To them, Gulliver is a man-mountain. At first, they're terrified, but Gulliver proves he's gentle and means no harm. Soon, he becomes a sort of national treasure, a secret weapon for the tiny kingdom. The Emperor of Lilliput asks for his help in their war against the neighboring island, Blefuscu. The whole conflict started over a ridiculous argument. Which end of a boiled egg to crack, the big end or the small end? Seriously. Gulliver, being a giant, simply wades across the channel between the islands and tows the entire Blefuscudian fleet back to Lilliput, ending the war without a single casualty. But life in Lilliput isn't all fun and games. Gulliver finds himself caught in petty court politics and jealousy, after he's accused of treason for, among other things, putting out a fire in the palace by, well, let's just say he used a very unconventional method. He decides it's time to leave. He escapes to Blefuscu and eventually finds a boat to take him back home. But Gulliver's travels are far from over. On his next voyage, another storm hits, and he's abandoned by his crew on a strange land. This time, the tables are turned. He's in Brobdingnag, a land of giants. Here, he's the tiny one. A farmer finds him and treats him like a curiosity, a little pet. He's eventually sold to the queen and becomes a court favorite. Life as a tiny person among giants is perilous. He's nearly drowned in a bowl of cream, attacked by giant wasps, and carried off by a monkey. Through his conversations with the king of Brobdingnag, Gulliver proudly describes European society, its politics, wars, and legal systems. But the king isn't impressed. From his giant perspective, he sees humanity's pride, greed, and violence as utterly absurd and contemptible. For Gulliver, this is a huge reality check. After a few years, a giant eagle snatches up his travel box and drops it into the sea, where he's rescued by a ship of normal-sized people. You'd think he'd learn his lesson and stay home, right? Nope, Gulliver sets sail again. This time he finds himself on Laputa, a flying island inhabited by absent-minded intellectuals who are so lost in thought about music and mathematics that they couldn't even hold a normal conversation without someone to tap them and remind them what is happening. Below Laputa, he visits a land of crackpot scientists trying to extract sunbeams from cucumbers and turn ice into gunpowder. It's a hilarious critique of science without common sense. Finally, his last and most profound journey. After a mutiny, he's left on an island ruled by the Houyhnhnms, a race of highly intelligent, rational, and noble talking horses. They live in a perfect society based on reason and truth. The island is also home to the Yahoos, savage, greedy, and disgusting human-like creatures who serve the Houyhnhnms. Gulliver is horrified to realize that he shares a physical form with the Yahoos. He spends years with the Houyhnhnms, learning their language and admiring their virtues. He comes to see them as the ideal beings and despises his own species. When the Houyhnhnms ultimately decide he can't stay because he's too much like a Yahoo, Gulliver is heartbroken. He returns to England a changed man, so disgusted by humanity that he can't even stand the sight of his own family. He prefers to spend his days in the stable, talking to his horses. Gulliver's Travels is more than just a fantastical adventure. It's a sharp satire that uses these strange lands to make us look at our own world, our politics, our pride, and our flaws from a completely new perspective. It asks us, are we more like the petty Lilliputians, the flawed giants of Brobdingnag, the silly scientists of Laputa, or the savage Yahoos? It's a wild ride that's as thought-provoking today as it was 300 years ago. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories. See you next time.